Cybernation Uncensored.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another installment of Tales from the Forlorn Dopes. I am your host, Cybersmily.
I am your co-host, Wisdom. Greetings, programs. Tonight we are
Playing it off the cuff.
we're gonna play it off the cuff. We're reviewing Interface 4, and we're gonna rant and ramble for a while. We're gonna go on some tangents. The guest we had tonight, they got sick, so our game plan was thrown out the window. So we're just gonna make some stuff up as we go along, and we're gonna have a good time. Let's start off with reviewing, doing our catch up on what's going on in the franchise and the genre.
Yeah, so big kind of news is Cyberpunk 2077 kind of been in the spotlight since they releasing their Switch version. And during the promo or interview or launch party from their Red Alert or something like that. I forget what their... I forgot their channel's name. Anyways, so they have their own broadcast in which they talk and interview with people, and basically it was mostly about the Switch. However, there was definitely some nugget dropped in, and I think Powell reiterated that there is going to be a patch coming in, 2.3. There's also speculation that there is going to be a DLC coming. I assume it's going to be from that third party that did the last patch for them. So I think they're working with a third party to continually to patch the game. When that's coming out, I believe next week they said 2.3 is supposed to be dropping. As for a DLC, I don't know. That's
Your
all.
guess is as good as ours.
Yeah, speculative.
I don't know that there's going to be an actual DLC. I think we might get an update. Like, I think we'll get some more like small missions and maybe some gameplay updates, kind of like they did the last time, where now you can paint your cars. Hopefully they'll add a flashlight. That's just me off the top of my head thinking. But yeah, that's pretty exciting news. I mean, there's always the possibility of a surprise update or a surprise DLC. That would be flipping amazing, but that would be a lot to expect them to have kept under covers for this long, especially since they said that Phantom Liberty was going to be the only DLC.
Yeah, well, I think with this new model of working with a third party, that technically they are telling the truth that they're not doing anything. But the streamers I've watched, especially Juicehead and a few of the others, basically kind of like said there's a strong suspicion with it, because that the voice actor who does Judy for the Polish edition was basically showing how she just got out of a gig and she was wearing her Cyberpunk 2077 jacket that she was given.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So there might be something going on.
Yeah. There's legs.
Yeah. There's some legs.
They're shaky, but there's legs. And, I mean, I very much want DLC. Like, That's makes me salivate just thinking about it.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll get lucky. It wouldn't be the first time a company has dropped a surprise like large DLC out of the blue. Rockstar used to do that shit all the time. Hell, they still do it. I mean, the GTA updates are like everybody knows around when they're coming, but they'll wait till like a couple of days before they drop it to let anybody know because they used to have major problems with leaks and all that. So yeah, maybe there's some foundation to this. Maybe we're gonna maybe the gods will smile on us and we'll get some new neon and chrome.
Well, with the in other news of there's quite a few coming out of CDPR. So the other thing is they've gone into pre-production for the Cyberpunk
Project
2. Well, they're calling it now Cyberpunk 2. Whatever that might
Is that
mean.
just what they're calling it now? Okay.
I believe so.
That's good. That's a much better name than Project Orion.
A lot of people are speculating we're probably not going to see anything until 2035. I'm more I'm more optimistic.
But the truth is,
well, I think
it did take 7 years for the first one to come out after it was announced.
Well,
and even then it was dry.
So the when it was announced,
but they had to announce it to get the investors.
Yeah,
like it was a special case.
Right.
Plus, they were building their own engine and all this sort of stuff. With Cyberpunk 2, it's going to be based on the Unreal Engine.
Yep.
Which means they're going to have to rebuild Night City. I don't know how compatible what they were doing is as far as the assets with Night City. I don't know if they're even going to try and get close to what Night City looked like.
I think they are, but there definitely is a new city because Mr. Pondsmith dropped that little gem for us, saying that there is a new city. I don't know what it is.
Unless that city is Crystal Palace, I don't.
Well, really so Mike said it's like Chicago, and of course everyone's like,
it's like Chicago.
It's Chicago because in the game it talks about the tram that's opening up that's going to Chicago. So there is those hints to it, but
there's plenty of hints, and Chicago would be welcome. Chicago's great. I love Chicago.
My hope is it's meta, or not meta? Is it meta? How's that city?
My hope is you can just go back and forth because I love Night City, and I think Night City is its own character in Cyberpunk, and that character is more important than any other character in the game.
Yep.
And I don't want to lose the wastelands. I don't want to lose that. I don't want to lose the nomad influence on the game. I think that's ridiculously important, not just because it's my favorite class, but because I still say that nomads are the best way to start the game because you're learning the city at the same time they are.
Yeah. The other possibility is it might be L.A. However, L.A. is, according to lore, is pretty massive.
It's a giant metroplex full of arcologies. Like I don't know how that would work. I mean, the mega buildings in Night City are big enough, but could you imagine like an arcology building and like that not being everything that the game entails?
Right.
There was that top-down like isometric view game. What's the name of it? It's a fantastic game, but it's pretty simple. Do I still have it? I do not. I don't remember what it was called. But yeah, you played in an arcology, just running through. It was very Cyberpunk adjacent. I mean, there's aliens all over the place, but that doesn't really have anything to do with the story. You're just running through, shooting stuff. It's basically a Cyberpunk version of Gauntlet, if anybody remembers that.
Yes.
And that game was freaking brilliant, but even in a game that small, the whole thing takes place in the arcology. You never leave. because our colleges are humongous.
Yep.
So I don't think it's going to be LA. There's a lot of lore about Chicago in the game from the 2020 era, where like it was destroyed by bioplague, like they shut it off, no man's land. In fact, the Batman story, No Man's Land, was I treated it very similar, where they're closing off all the bridges and nobody can get in or out. They kind of touched on that with the Dark Knight, uh, the third Batman movie, the one with Bane.
And Chicago might also be. I mean, there's definitely a lot of things gearing towards Chicago, but again, I don't necessarily will put 100%.
No.
Credit
Until they come out and say something, I'm not giving anything 100%. Like,
Yeah.
Mike is known to obfuscate things, especially during promotion.
Right.
He's just that kind of wild and crazy guy.
Yeah.
So while Chicago is a strong possibility, it could be anything. Really.
Right.
It could be Mexico City. It could be Tokyo. It could be like there's all sorts of cyberpunk cities out there that are prime pickings.
And definitely there's a lot of stuff. Someone says Detroit. I highly doubt it's going to be Detroit.
Yeah, that belongs to RoboCop. We can't
But
do Detroit.
The other aspect of Chicago, which kind of lends credibility, is it was rebuilt by the Alocados. So there is also that, especially if you do the Nomad ending
if
to
you
Cyberpunk 2077, I could see V ending up in Chicago.
I could. That would be a way to continue the game. And like you said, if you read Neo Tribes, like that's one of the major adventures is, you go in with the Aldecaldos to help clean up Chicago, because basically it's a dead city that's been walled off for like a decade. All sorts of craziness. One of the best games I ever ran took place in Chicago as they try and clean out the Sears Tower. So yeah, like I would love to see Chicago.
Yeah, I would love to see Metakey, but that's just me.
Yeah, I would adore seeing Metakey. As far as like American cities in Cyberpunk, those two places, New York, I wouldn't mind seeing some kind of reclamation efforts going on in New York, because Manhattan got nuked.
Yeah, maybe we'll see Bitgirl and Bite Boy.
Jesus, don't do that to me. Oh, I'm choking here. So yeah, I'm very excited. Yeah, I just love me some Cyberpunk. Anything to keep the franchise going.
Yeah. So the other thing with Cyberpunk 2077 is, granted, it is adjacent, but the concept that they are upgrading Witcher 3 to have mods for console games.
That's exciting. That right there's oh my God, does that make me excited? Because I want mods. I want to play with mods for Cyberpunk 2020.
And because that is the same engine, Redjet engine. So whatever they do for Witcher 3 should be done.
Theoretically, they can do for
Exactly. So that's something
we'll never get like the pervert mods, but that's okay. I don't care about those anyway. I just want to change clothes of my characters into these groovy outfits that I keep seeing.
What do you mean pervert mod? Do you mean the mod that makes all guns into dildos?
The one that makes everybody naked or the 50 that make everybody naked. The ones where you can like triple the size of the big boobs, so you're just like walking sweater pillows.
What about the mod that turns your foot into one big toe?
Now I say that, but I wouldn't mind a mod that adds like I don't necessarily care about sex, but it's weird that your partners can come visit you. I want to be able to like go out on dates with my partners. I want them to ride around with me in the city. That's what I want.
They have those mods, but
I know, and that's fucking cool.
the only problem is that there's no dialogue, right? So it's the same
I don't
dialogue.
care if there's
Yeah.
dialogue. I just want to be able to look over and see them.
Yeah.
Kind of like riding the roller coaster with Johnny, where he gets the big grin on his face. I
Right.
want to go, fight some booster gangs with Pan Am.
Yeah, so that's kind of it with CDPR. Now, during their... Go ahead. You want something?
Apparently, some undisclosed buyer bought Nexus mods.
Really?
Yeah. I've seen like a couple of different articles about that.
I hope it's
None
not.
of them give any more information than the other, but that's depending on who that undisclosed buyer is, that could be pretty exciting news.
I hope it's not Elon.
Right. I can't imagine it would be, but
Yeah, well, he's a troll, right?
he is. Yeah, he is a troll. He does like to pretend that he's a good gamer. But I'm hoping that one of these game companies bought it just so they can start implementing the mods into their game.
Well, I would rather not see that because then they're going to kind of start gearing it towards their game only. And
That's true.
Nexus
I don't ever get to use mods anyway, so because I'm a console gamer, the only modded game I've ever really gotten to get into was Fallout 4.
Well, soon you might be able to put in mods.
I mean, I'm definitely going to mod the shit out of Witcher if they let me. Like, yeah. So yeah, that's as far as I know about anything going on the computer front.
Well, the other thing is CDPR during their quarterly earnings call, they mentioned that there were 3 unnamed projects or unknown projects. I forget what the terminology they used for it, but basically it was 2 that were game related and 1 that was not. So the speculation is the one that is not is probably either the live action or the new Edgerunner anime. When that's going to happen, I don't know. I mean, they dropped the kind of hint of the anime recently.
Yeah.
How long after that announcement, which I think was this year, that something will come out on Netflix. Usually you can kind of guarantee something's probably going to come out within the next year. So I'm thinking early 2026, mid or the third quarter, or not third quarter, the first quarter of 2026, we might see something for Netflix. I think the live action, they, prior to this quarter's meeting, in the previous quarter meeting, I'm not sure if it was the last one from last year, end of last year, or Q3, but they did mention that they are shopping around or creating the live action. So that can always take a while, especially with live action stuff. I mean, look at Neuromancer. It's taken 30 plus years to get something going.
To just get a cast photo, Jesus.
Right.
As many times as they've tried to get that shit going.
But for Cyberpunk 2, I think my estimate is we are probably going to see something in 2030, if not before. Just because...
I sure hope. I'm getting old, man.
Well, they've been working on working with Unreal Engine for the past 3 years. Or sorry, they announced that they're working with them, which means there's a good chance they've been working with them since Cyberpunk launched, right? Because I'm sure during the development of Cyberpunk 2077, the engine developers were like, we need something better. And that's when they worked with Epic, right? And I'm sure Epic was all ears to see it.
Yeah.
and have our
Plus,
crew
I
member.
mean, at the very least, they've got to be like, look, we can spend all this money to keep developing this engine that we're going to be the only people who ever use, or we can use that money. We can go with Unreal like everybody else does, and use that money to just make a better game. Um, and don't get me wrong, I was really impressed with Cyberpunk's engine. It was beautiful, but like the limitations became pretty starkly obvious pretty quickly with as much stuff as they had to take out of the game and just not develop because it didn't work.
Yep.
Things like in the very first gameplay trailer, you see uh, V using her what are the mantis blades to like climb up walls and stuff.
Yep.
That feature is gone, never to see the light of day.
Yeah, which is annoying.
I don't care because I don't really care about the mantis blades in the first place. I think I had a character use them for like maybe a day before I was just like, these are, I want anything but these. Swords are much cooler, and I don't need swords and mantis blades.
Right.
When instead I can put the rocket launcher in my arm with the trank darts and just be very cool. Or gorilla arms. Like gorilla arms just are the best. Like objectively, they're the best.
Well, you kind of need them, especially if you don't want to pump your body up to 20 to be able to open all the doors.
Right.
And again, I think that was one of the main drawbacks for me of the game is in order to open the door, either you had to have tech or you had to have body. You can't use
Yeah.
both. And in the beginning gig that you do, you can open a door with net running. And that was the only way, that was the only
door
one
in
you
the
do.
whole game you can do that. But it's there. I mean, with the way net running works, that should be a pretty common occurrence. In fact, I would say that should be more common than tech.
Yeah.
You can either force it or you can finesse it. So yeah, I agree with you on that completely. I don't know. Plus, there's like all these doors at the beginning of the game that you would come across that are like requirement 20 to open. Like, what the hell?
Yep.
Like, I just want to find out what's behind this door, and you're telling me I've got to like blow all my points on this garbage?
And then you do, and it's like a robot sitting on a couch watching another robot gyrate in front of it. I'm like,
yeah,
really?
Or it's a room with nothing in it but like a crappy pistol, like a Liberator.
Yep.
It was never worth it. Just like I don't know, like there's nothing ever in the safes that's really worth it. You might get some ammo or something, but like in most of the time in the containers, that's just not where you're going to find the good stuff.
Yes. So moving on, I haven't been paying attention on the Dark Horse front if they're putting out a new comic or not. Have you seen anything?
I haven't seen anything, but they just finished Cyber Psycho Squad, whatever it's called, and it's fantastic. But yeah, I as far as I can tell, they're selling pretty well, so I can't see them not doing more, unless like the license runs out.
Yep.
But since Dark Horse lost the publishing licenses to like almost their entire movie line, like they can't do Aliens comics anymore, they can't do Predator, they don't do Terminator, they don't do Indiana Jones, and these are comics that they've been running since the 80s almost, like at least since the early 90s. I think the first Predator comics came out in, I really want to say 89 or 90. I could be wrong. I get old, my memory gets fuzzy. And they put out like consistently good work. It was really weird where when Marvel suddenly got the rights to do Aliens and Predator and uh, Terminator, I'm not sure what happened there. Uh, there was a lot of upheavals in the last couple of years. Like the Conan franchise changed. That went through like 3 different companies in like a span of 5 years. Like Marvel had it, and they tried to make Conan like a major part. Like they even added into a new comic called Savage Avengers, which was weird. So like Conan was interacting with the regular Marvel universe on a regular basis, and then they no longer were publishing Conan comics again. It went to some other like small company. I don't know what's going on. So anyway, the point is that Dark Horse doesn't have the wide catalog of properties that they used to have, and the Cyberpunk comics seem successful. They keep putting them out, so I'm assuming they're gonna keep putting them out as long as CDPR lets them. What I would really like is if they'd team up with Artel Sorian and do 2020 and 2045 era comics. That would oh, I don't even like, that's just too much. I'm gonna stop talking right there.
Right. Yeah. But let's move on to, because we're talking about media. So Neuromancer is currently being filmed. Their page is consistently being updated with various actors that are being added to the series. I have yet to see who will play the Finn, or if the Finn is actually going to be added. I can't see how they would not add the Finn.
I'd say he's a pretty important character
In the whole trilogy. I mean, he's pretty much
he's
in
not
the whole
useless.
trilogy.
He's not like Tom Bombadil or something. He's a pretty integral part of what's going on.
And he's such a great character, too. So I don't
Exactly.
know if they're rolling him into a different character or not. But yeah. They are, or some of the images have leaked, so I'm looking forward to this. Granted, when it comes out, I will have to go and subscribe to Apple and cancel one of my other streaming systems to do so, but I will get it done.
I'm just gonna go over to my friend's house who's got Apple and make him let me watch his TV.
There you go.
I can't give Apple money. I refuse. Just on general principle.
I completely understand. So other things that are coming out is The Last Spark, which is supposed to be a post-apocalyptic sci-fi tale about survivors searching for a safe haven in the ruined world. Kind of looks like Wall-E. Or what was the robot from Five Alive?
Short Circuit.
Short Circuit. There you go.
So it's about robots?
The poster shows a robot that looks exactly like Five Alive.
Johnny Five.
Yeah, Johnny Five.
Who's John? He said.
The other, yeah. Another kind of.
It's gotta be better than that other semi-cyberpunk robot movie, Heartbeeps.
Yeah.
Jesus. Not everything Andy Kaufman did was brilliant.
No. There is a other thing called The Shrouds, which is from David Cronenberg.
Master of
And
body horror.
yeah, an inventor obsessed with watching the dead through new tech. When his creation stirs up danger, the story drives into a chilling blend of grief and sci-fi horror.
Well, that's probably going to be very worth watching. I
Yes.
mean, it's Cronenberg. It's going to be ridiculously disturbing and utterly fascinating.
Yeah. Um, the Assessment, which seems to be kind of a dystopian type of future from the trailer
Yeah,
I've seen. It's like
it
this married couple is trying to be proven whether or not they can have kids or allowed to have kids.
it
And
reminded me of Gattaca.
yeah, but a lot more more intense.
Yeah.
There's another movie called Mercy. I think I've mentioned this before. Chris Pine is going to be a detective in a futuristic city.
I'm all about that.
Which we'll see how that goes.
I think fully well that Chris Pine can pull off the noir detective type of vibe. He's got that kind of clever, smart mouth where he's not saying obnoxious things, but he's quick-witted. At least, as much as the script is going to play him out to be. But he does that very well. And he's got that brooding look. Like, he can do it. I think he could be very similar to a Humphrey Bogart type. Uh, so I'm looking forward to that one more than anything you've mentioned so far.
Yep. Well, yeah. I got one more up my sleeve that you're definitely gonna want to know about, and that's Tron Ares.
I've been following that. I've been following it. I love Tron so very much. I mean, I every show, uh, like I start the show with a direct reference to Tron. Um, so yeah, I'm excited about it, but I'm also very trepidatious because they keep waiting like these massive amounts of time between sequels, and at this point, I'm very curious as to how they're going to do Tron without Tron because I don't know that Boxleitner is he even still mobile?
I have no idea.
Um,
We're gonna see how they
yeah, we're
interpret it.
definitely going to see. I mean, I love Tron. I've been thoroughly entertained by every Tron um, follow up that I've seen so far. So
Yep. Um. Also, there is going to be The Running Man that's supposedly coming out in November
yeah,
with Glenn
we talked about that
Powell
a couple
and
of times
Josh
now.
Brolin. So I wonder who
I mean,
Josh
Josh
Brolin
Brolin,
is going to play.
he can really do no wrong. So, uh, I think he's probably a little too big to play. Oh, the main character.
Yeah,
What
Ben
is going
Richards. That's going to be Glenn
Ben
Powell.
Richards?
That's going to be Glenn
Yeah.
Powell.
I'm assuming he'll be like
Richard Dawson.
somebody else in the role. Yeah, Richard Dawson. I
Yes.
got to go score some more steroids.
Yes.
Yeah.
Other Stephen King kind of dystopian future is the Long Walk, which is also coming out.
We spoke about this the last
Yes.
episode. I cannot believe that's getting made. I don't know how you're going to make a movie about a dude walking in a marathon where he can't stop, where all the all the like it all takes like all the dialogue takes place in his head pretty much. Like the whole his experiences are all like done through exposition, except for like when he's shitting himself, and
Well,
it's a brutal story. And I've always wanted to see it made into a movie, so
I
very hopeful.
definitely see that it's a lot of the internal dialogue is probably going to be talked about with everyone who's doing the march.
Yeah, or it'll just be like narration. I could see that working.
And I have to say
Uh,
that Mark Hamill looks like he's going to be a badass villain.
I mean, he's played some badasses like uh, that. He played that bounty hunter in the movie about like it's like a post-apocalypse movie where they're flying around in planes everywhere.
Right.
Um, I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head. I liked the movie. I liked his character. But yeah, he was kind of a villain in that. I'm not going to talk about his role as a cock knocker and
What are you talking about? Funny story how I got that name.
uh, but yeah, he can do no wrong. I mean, his best role other than Skywalker is the Joker, which is the most iconic villain of all time, and he does it better than anybody else. I don't care what you say about Heath Ledger. Mark Hamill is the Joker. Just like Kevin Conroy is the best Batman, bar none, hands down.
Yep. Don't think what. Oh, there is I Am Legend 2 that's going to be coming out. To be determined, of course. Yeah,
I can't get excited about that.
and neither can I. I'm sorry, Will Smith ruined himself for me.
Not only did he ruin himself, but like, where's the movie gonna go? He died at the end of it.
True.
Uh, so they're just gonna pull some shit out of their ass one way or another. Um, and yeah, like it's crazy because Will Smith used to be one of my favorite actors, and I liked him as a person. And he squandered that all by just making nothing but bad movies for like a decade, and then just turning out to be kind of a jerk. So I can't really support him on either front.
Yeah.
Like you said, he ruined himself for me.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but you gotta expect Chris Rock to say something.
Oh,
As a
yeah,
comedian.
and I mean, you don't hire a guy like Chris Rock to do the Oscars if you don't expect him to like poke fun at the audience.
Yeah.
I
could just imagine what Ricky Gervais would have done.
Yeah, he's gonna first pick on the people that are his friends, that's the people he feels comfortable with. And he and Jada had supposedly been friends for years. I don't know. It was like there's all sorts of speculation.
Yeah.
I think Will Smith at that point, like I'm not trying to absolve him of responsibility. Obviously, he did the slap, but I think at that point he was just so broken by her and her antics that he didn't know which way was up.
Yeah.
That's at least my hope. That's the only hope I can get out of it. And from then on, pride just takes over.
Yeah.
Pride fucks everything up.
It does, but you don't do that at the Oscars.
You don't do that, period. You don't get up and smack a dude just because he's talking some shit. That's not cool. Especially if you're like 3 times the size of the dude. You're just a bully at that point.
Yeah, so
like Chris Rock said, I played Pookie in New Jack City. He played Muhammad Ali.
Can't Man, don't screw up Pookie.
I love Pookie.
Um, but yeah, so the other thing was, and like currently out, I just got done watching Lazarus,
Lazarus is so freaking good.
which was, yeah.
Oh my god.
So,
That's my favorite thing on television. Well, not that it's on television. It's on. Uh, is it Netflix or Max? I think it's Max.
yeah, I'm not sure
I
if
watch
it's
so much crap. It's on Max. But it's the best thing on right now. Anybody who doesn't know, Lazarus is an anime directed by Shinichiro Watanabe, who did Cowboy Bebop and Samurai Champloo,
Blue.
Space Dandy, and it's definitely the best thing he's done since Cowboy Bebop.
Yes, so expect jazz and great combat sequences in the anime.
Phenomenal combat sequences. Even the minor ones just are mind blowing with the amount of motion, and I don't know. That dude does kung fu better than anybody.
Yep. Yeah, I didn't know he also worked on Blade Runner, Black Lotus, and
Yeah,
He was the storyboard artist for Ergo the Proxy.
which is why I have hopes. I have hopes that somebody's going to reach out to him to do the next Cyberpunk anime. That would.
Maybe they already have.
Yeah, maybe. It's all remains in the realm of possibility. Anything's got to be better than. I say that there are much worse studios out there than Studio Trigger, but
I mean, they might go with IG, you know?
yeah, they might. That would be beautiful. I can't see them doing that, but because they are pretty exclusive to whatever Oshi's working on. I love
Right.
Studio IG. I think they're one of the most brilliant animation companies in the world. I think they're wasted on Mamoru Oshii, where he's doing these ridiculously lavish and expensive animes just for characters to stand around.
Right.
You get like 2 minutes of action in a 4-hour movie. But we can always hope.
Yes.
Um,
Anything on the comic book front that you want to or have knowledge of?
I mean, there's always comics coming out. I'm trying. Let me. Is there anything that's really catching my eye right now? Kill Train's pretty fun. It's if you've ever read the manga Battle Royale or seen the movie, it's kind of like that. It's which for American viewers, Hunger Games, except it takes place on a train. Um, that's pretty fun. Uh, there's something else, and my brain is hurting right now. Um, yeah, no, my brain is not letting me remember anything at the moment. And you should always be reading 2000 AD and Judge Dredd magazine. You just should.
Agreed. So that's concerning Cyberpunk Media. So we've talked about the computer game and CDPR, Cyberpunk Media. Next, we'll talk about games. So from gaming point of view, Monster Fight Club, the expectation is the Kickstarter for their Combat Zone vehicle supplement is possibly coming out in August. There has been delays, but one good thing about Monster Fight Club is they do all their models in-house, so they're in the US. So hopefully with the whole trade war that is currently happening, um, there isn't going to be too much of an impact for getting those shipped
Yeah.
out.
Um, yeah, and they consistently put out quality work. I still think it's crazy where they started and what they've become. And when they first got the contract for Artal Saurian, I was all like, "Aren't those the guys that make like the pervert fucking the well, not pervert, but their big claim to fame was they did Babe miniatures, like scantily clad women and
Monster
provocative
Monster Fight Club, or are you talking about?
Monster Fight Club. They had a lot of that, and then they got the Cyberpunk thing, and like everything changed, and they're putting out some of the best miniatures in the business.
Are you sure?
Even if you don't use them for Cyberpunk, they're fantastic.
Because
Sure about what?
they worked with not DreamPod 9. So John used to work with another company, but their miniatures were always like this kind of terrain that was kind of cartoonish. That they originally created. They created a board game called Tentacle Town, and that's when they got into
Tentacle Town.
Started working with our Tarsorian and doing like The Witcher and then Cyberpunk miniatures.
I could be wrong. I just like in my memory, that's how I remember them, as like they did.
No, I don't
Babe
think
miniatures.
I don't think they did, dude.
Okay, well, it wouldn't be the first time I've been wrong.
Yeah. What were they before?
Regardless, they put out fantastic work now, and
yeah. And they also just launched a Kickstarter for their terrain set, which can be used not only with Cyberpunk Combat Zone, and hell, you could even use it for your own miniature games, creating like towns and cityscapes. But it's also usable for any modern day scenarios. And the stuff they're doing with their cargo containers and creating cargo container cities.
So cool. Yeah,
it's crazy because I saw them.
It's very Ready Player One, like the giant trailer park skyscrapers. It reminds me of that a lot. It's beautiful.
And their Kickstarter is still going. So,
and you just turned me on to the Combat Zone on Tabletop Simulator.
Yes.
And I know you have done a lot of you've done some applications for that on your site.
Yep.
And I had a blast playing it online. Once my computer stops having seizures long enough to let me play. That's not because the program is resource intensive. That's because I've got an old as hell computer, and it seizes up if I look at it funny.
Yeah. But with their new Kickstarter, there is an option to get their digital assets. So you could get their digital asset, and if you have a 3D printer, you are now able to basically print the stuff. So that is a nice aspect of their Kickstarter. But yeah, so going back to Combat Zone, another company, what are they called? So there's another company besides Tabletop Simulator who are also doing Combat Zone.
Really?
Yes. So another program, I believe the company's out of England. What is it they're called? Wartop. So this company, Wartop, has created a tabletop simulator as well, and it also integrates with Combat Zone. I've yet to try it or purchase it. I'm probably going to buy it just to see what it's like, and whether or not.
I mean, more resources never hurt anything.
Yeah, So with the tabletop simulator, you have the free demo version that Monster Fight Club put out, and then there is another fan made version. The one that Monster Fight Club put out, they actually have the 3D miniatures for Maelstrom and Tiger Claws, but I believe the other one kind of doesn't have that. They kind of have standees with just the image of the figure. But it's a way to get you introduced into the game and start playing with it. Um, I don't know if Tailspire has anything integrated quite yet. I know Tailspire does have a lot of integration with or creating cyberpunk virtual areas. I don't know if
Hmm.
there's necessarily a plugin specifically for Combat Zone, but there is that stuff that is out there. So yeah, so again, Monster Fight Club, you can play it online, you can play it in person. I am getting through. I've gotten probably a quarter of the way through my miniatures painted, so still got a long way to go and a lot of skill to work on, but getting that done. So there's that. There is the launch of Cyberpunk Legends, which is going to be a new card game done by Night Crew Studios or Night Crew Games. Night Crew Games.
Night Crew Games.
They are producing basically a card game in which you are going to have various role decks. So you can play a solo, a nomad, a rocker boy, and a few other roles. And then you have what's called a scenario deck, in which you start pulling out scenarios and try to kind of do a co-op play to try to complete the scenario using the various cards
I
that are in
mean,
your deck.
it sounds very much like a card based choose your own adventure type thing, and that sounds really cool to me. Like I love that whole concept. Anything that lets you play solo is gonna get my attention, especially in my old age and post COVID, where finding groups has gotten a little bit more difficult, scheduling and whatnot. Um, if you if you get a chance, watch Mike Pondsmith and I can't remember his name, but the creator of the card game. They just did a podcast show or a video blog show that is
Yes.
quite entertaining, um, and very informative on what the game's going to be like.
The channel is from Extra Credit. They aren't necessarily a cyberpunk channel. They do a lot of history stuff. But anyways, they interviewed Mike, and it is James Portnow,
There you
who
go.
is the creator of the card game Cyberpunk Legends. Hopefully, we'll get the members of Night Crew to join us in a future episode. We are working on that because they are Cyberpunk fans and we are Cyberpunk fans, so I think it would be great to talk with them. But yeah, so basically it's a quick intro into the game on that channel. So the video I think is an hour long, but it looks like it's a pretty fun game, quick, easy to pick up, which was James's purpose or objective to get a game in which you can quickly pick up and be able to play immediately without too many rules you don't have to explain too much, which is always great, especially if you're trying to get new players in to a game system. It's always good to try to make it as simple as possible. We tried to teach.
Amen.
So I was at StokerCon last week, which is basically a horror writers convention. And my wife is a horror writer. She had some of the local chapter of the Horror Writers Association try to play some Munchkin, and it took a little while for them to comprehend what was going on. So I think one of the problems with a lot of games all of us gamers play is it's not as simple as hearts or blackjack or war. So it takes a little more complication
Yeah,
teaching
it's not
players.
Uno.
Yeah, exactly.
What struck me about the interview was just how well he and Mike got along.
Yeah,
I think you said it seemed like you said it seemed like there's some prior history there, and it certainly gives that they certainly give that feeling like they're very comfortable with each other. I think it feels like they've collaborated on stuff for a while.
yep,
Maybe not professionally, but personally, I guess maybe
yeah,
like campaign ideas or just maybe just shooting shit at conventions. I don't know.
yeah. And the initial ask price is $50, which I think is very reasonable compared to some of the Kickstarters of recent, like the recent Cyberpunk 2077 board game, which I
They
think
priced themselves right out of my wallet. Jesus.
yeah, very quickly too. I think the
Yeah.
final tier was like, I don't know, $600 or $700 to be all in,
Mm,
which I think is a ridiculous amount of money.
it's a
Um,
flipping board game.
for a board game. Granted, it looks like you get a lot of nice stuff.
Sure.
When I get the level that I um, bought into, which was a considerable amount of money, but it's not as much as the all in. Just because I thought I was already buying the all in, but apparently there was another
They
tier.
raised it again. They
Yeah,
they out of the blue.
like I said in previous episode, I did not appreciate their strategy. Um,
I keep I keep hoping somebody will put that game on Tabletop Simulator.
they might. I know that Gangs of New York, or not Gangs of New York, Gangs of Night City. There is a couple of flavors that were created for Tabletop Simulator. So,
Well,
uh,
you can play the original Netrunner game on Tabletop Simulator. In
oh,
fact, there's
really?
like several different versions of it, like different people doing it.
Oh, nice.
Uh, I thought that was really cool. I came across that looking for. I was trying to find a complete deck of the Cyberpunk uh, collectible card game from the early 2000s.
Oh, man, I
I
didn't know there was
really,
that game. I mean, if I had known there was that game, I would have spent a lot of money because that was during the time of Magic, and I was a
yeah,
hardcore Magic player.
I never got into the whole collectible card game craze. So
Yeah,
when the Cyberpunk card game came out, I just slept on it completely. I picked up the Netrunner cards, but even now I don't have a complete collection. It was just too much.
yeah.
But I did that because I could use them for my Cyberpunk game as my new net running rules. But I mean, if you go to my site, there's art from the Cyberpunk card game all over the place. But I'd really like to get a complete set of the cards, like even just as like a PDF file, just so I could see them.
There
I'd like to see them
was
put out on like Tabletop Simulator or some kind of emulator.
there was a site that had them all, and I think they had a downloadable program as well that you could play across games.
Ooh.
This was, of course, like 10 years ago. Um,
Yeah, I missed that completely then.
but yeah, there is. I'll have to find it for you, but there was a site. Oh, here's a site for you. I'll share it with the rest of the group. Um, but yeah, so I remember following it because I was into it as well. I was
This,
actually a
this is Netrunner, not Cyberpunk.
oh yeah I thought you meant Netrunner, that you were looking for all the Netrunner cards.
Yeah, no, I've got all those
Uh,
because even like in the late '90s, there was a site similar to this that lets
yeah.
you had applications for playing the game and had the full card list. But I'm definitely bookmarking this to share it with people on Data Fortress.
Oh, here we go. Oh, they don't have images of the cards.
Yeah, I found a lot of card lists, but not illustrated ones, which kind of defeats the purpose.
Yeah, that sucks. But yeah, yeah, I didn't
You can
know
get the rule
anything.
books, like those are available on PDF from all over the place. I'm getting ready to upload them onto Data Fortress when I update the archives.
I was able to get that game. I know there was another company that tried to do that, but they did it without permission.
Yeah, and then there's the Android Netrunner game, which doesn't have anything to do with Artelsorian, so I'm not sure how they got the name for Netrunner.
Well, so what it was, right? So
I mean,
Netrunner,
I've got it. I've got a copy of it, but
yeah. So Netrunner, the game itself was owned by Wizards of the Coast and was licensing the IP from
right.
Artelsorian. Now, when Wizards of the Coast stopped doing that game, Fantasy Flight wanted to pick it up and use it. So they bought the rights from Wizards of the Coast for the game, which, they can't copyright the game mechanics, but just the flavor. So I have a feeling that they went to Wizards of the Coast and they didn't go to Art Halsorian to buy any of the IP, so they had to go in and change the names of certain cards, right? So there's no Bartmos brain box.
Right, but I thought Netrunner itself was a copywritten term. I
No,
guess
I
I was
don't
wrong.
think if it is copywritten, it would have been copywritten by Wizards of the Coast, right? As a game, kind of like how CDPR
Yeah,
copyrighted Cyberpunk.
yeah.
So there is that. But yeah. Yeah, so that card game's coming out. I don't know when they're going to launch it. Supposedly they're going to have demos at Gen Con this year, so that's 2 months from now. Well, a little over a month. About a month and a half. So go check them out. I think they've already kind of sold out all the demo slots that they're doing. But I would love to go, but not this year because I already went to a big con this year. So, other things in tabletop. Um, we'll head to the mothership. So I have yet to see a DLC come out for this month from
Yeah,
the
but I
wonderful.
mean, it's only the 18th. They
True,
tend to drop pretty late.
very true. There is a lot of talk about Night City,
Hmm.
and that it is coming out hopefully soon, or at least being worked on. Melissa, I think, has already said that everything she was working on has already been submitted. So now it's, I think, Jay Gray
Final editing
working,
phase.
yeah, working his ass off to get things done, which I am sure he is head down to the grindstone trying to get all of that stuff together, working, and ready to go. So when we will see it, I don't know. But again, they will announce when it is ready, as they always do. But yeah, so I mean, they've already done a preview guide.
Yeah. They've dropped the big map, and then they've dropped the atlas. And both are very promising looking there. It's going to be good. I don't know if anything can ever top the original Night City source book. I've never come across anything that tops it. The closest, there's been some fantasy cities that come close, but nothing, certainly nothing for modern or sci-fi comes anywhere near the Night City source book. So I'm keenly interested in seeing the new version.
Yes. Yeah, so it definitely does look like a lot of cool stuff is coming out, hopefully soon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so what else do we talk about?
Well, I think that's about it as far as talking about the franchise and the genre itself. I think it's 7:09. I think we need to get to the review of Interface Red.
I thought we already did that.
Nope, we did not.
Didn't.
We did not.
Maybe we just talked about the martial arts.
Yeah,
with James.
We've had guests every episode since Interface Red came, or Interface Red number 4 came out, and we did talk with it about James. We did talk to James about it. Again, I want to thank Artel Sorian for sending a copy, a digital copy, so we could preview it. It's my favorite Interface Red so far.
And why is that?
It's the one, because it's the one everybody's been waiting for. It's the one with all the kung fu.
Yes.
Plus tons of other stuff. But the kung fu is what everybody was waiting for. An expansion on the martial arts rules. It was sorely anticipated, and
so all right, let's get into it. So the first section is, of course, the one brought to you by Cody Pondsmith and James Hutt, Hornets Pharmacy, in which we talk about drugs and the modernization of some of these drugs from Cyberpunk 2020.
I'm just gonna say real quick, the book itself, Cody Pondsmith, I'm really happy to see him taking such an active role in the direction the company's going. Seeing him do cyberpunk stuff again, even though we know that he's buried up to his neck in Shadow Scar, was nice. Even every bit as exciting is Dolan Pondsmith. Her art is all throughout this book, and it's fantastic. Including she's the cover artist, which is a very nice cover of some kung fu right there. I just wanted to mention that really quick. There's a lot of artists that work on this book. The writing is mostly James Hutt, James Gray, Cody Pondsmith, and Melissa Wong. Artists include 3-Bit Studios, Adrian Mark, Alan Okamoto, Anselm Zalanka, Zelanka. If I'm I know I'm butchering your name, and I apologize for that. Bad Moon Art Studio, Danny Hartel, Dolan, Eddie Mendoza, Hello Frasdo, Hun Tang. Jay Gray has apparently got some art in here. Monster Fight Club, Neil Branquinto. He's done a lot of stuff for Artel Sorian. Pedrin Mohammed, Richard Bognall, again, he's done some stuff. Saga McKenzie, Sebastian Smid, something. Storm Cook, T-Rex Studios, Torben Wall, Wait, and Ted Talsorian. I haven't heard that name in a long time. I don't know what he did in the book, but we'll discover it together.
We will.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just really like giving shout outs to the artists and writers.
Agreed. So, Hornet's Pharmacy. Basically, it's a section in which, it's from a DLC, which we might have talked about, that is bringing a lot of the Cyberpunk 2020 drugs up to red standards. So you have Berserker, which was always a fan favorite of my characters.
My characters liked Blue Glass. They liked the euphoria and the hallucinogens.
My guys were always about the combat drugs.
It's not straight update. Like most of the Berserk's one of the few drugs from 2020 that does show up in this. But yeah, updating the drug creation rules and rules around gear surrounding drugs. Like there's auto injecting drones and cyberware.
Well, I don't think they necessarily have drug creation. I think it's always been drugs, and I think that's one of the things that Red kind of steered away from was the drug creation, the program creation type of things.
I know Mike Pondsmith just really hates drug use. Like, that's why it was so ridiculously restrictive in Cyberpunk 2020, and the drug creation for that didn't come along until fans did it, most notably with Ocelot's Drug Lab from the fantastic Mockeries site. Rest in peace. Yes. Not that they're dead, but the site is.
Right. But yeah, and I think the concept of integrating humanity costs to some of these drugs was interesting.
Yeah, I think it fits perfectly with the themes of what they're trying to do with Cyberpunk, particularly Cyberpunk Red. It adds that extra little bit of danger to the drugs. Drugs in Cyberpunk are not your friends. They're just not. Even the ones that you like, the combat drugs, they're not your friends. They'll bite you in the end.
Drugs are bad, okay?
Mm-hmm. You shouldn't do drugs.
Yeah. So, it's nice to see that they upgraded a lot of this, and also introducing an assassin drone. And bringing that in and kind of statting that out is nice. Because I think one of the things... Did the assassin drone have an SDP? I think it did. In the old system.
In the old system, Yeah, it had an SDP.
Yeah.
I don't think it had an SP, but it had an SDP. Because it was like in 2020, the drones were ridiculously fragile. Anything that flew.
Right. So, yeah. So it's definitely, again, I think that Artelsarian. I think one of the original complaints a lot of people had with Cyberpunk Red when it first came out was the lack of gear and the variety of gear. I think with every DLC, they've been putting out more and more stuff to exceed what was originally in Cyberpunk 77. So I think those initial
Yeah,
arguments or critiques are now kind of
us
gone
us
away.
us crying over the lack of gear porn. It did not fall upon deaf ears. They picked up the vibes of that and ran with it. And every, like you said, every DLC's got some kind of gear in it, and most of it's really inventive. Um, like the next section with the Black Chrome updates, that they've been pretty consistent about that. Uh, I like the idea of the bullet to slug adapter casings and the junk ammunition for shotguns, where you just pick up some crap, stuff it in a shotgun shell, and kablam! You basically got your own modern era blunderbuss that's going to destroy your gun, but it'll definitely uh, it'll definitely leave an impression.
Plus, you have the Atom Smasher body pillow.
The Atom Smasher body pillow, which is of course the most important piece of gear in the game.
Yeah, no. I mean, if the Atom Smasher body pillow was also like, I don't know, 20 degrees colder than the environment, was hardened
It needs to
steel.
be. I was gonna say it needs to be hard and lumpy. Like that's what it needs. Um, and maybe with a speaker inside that just says some really obnoxious stuff every now and then when you squeeze it.
Yeah, definitely. Um, I'm surprised they didn't like put in the concept that you can also use this pillow as as a silencer
Or a bludgeoning weapon.
or a bludgeoning weapon. True. It does a D6 stun.
But I mean, it's only 100 EB. You can cuddle Atom Smasher to your heart's content. And if you've ever been to any of the Cyberpunk Reddits or Discord channels, there are people out there that would buy this non-ironically, and that's terrifying to me. That's more terrifying than Atom Smasher himself.
And they also give some more samples of the various clothing and what a
Yeah,
bohemian looks versus a urban flash versus business wear is always nice, especially with us visual guys.
yeah. They even give us a new night market, Molly's Night Market. I like these little touches. I like the little bits of flavor. You know me, I'm a flavor guy.
Yes, especially with your ultra chrome, making sure
Mm,
every piece of gear has an image to it.
yeah, because like you said, we're visual. We like seeing it, having an image of a piece of gear, so everybody's on the same page with how big it is, what its shape is. Uh, like it just works. It makes the game better as far as I'm
Yep.
concerned. Other people are like, well, why can't you just use your imagination? Well, because if I'm describing a car and Billy has a different image in his head, he's going to try and go out the trunk when there's no way to go out the trunk because there is no trunk. I mean, that's just how it works sometimes. Like An image keeps everybody on the same page.
Yep. The next section that is also brought to you by James, Jay, and Cody is the achievements and loot boxes. Not a fan of this. Didn't
No,
when
I'm
the,
not
when the
either.
DLC
I
came
don't
out,
think
I wasn't too like yeah okay, gives some nice flavor, but to me it seems more gamification.
yeah, I don't like loot boxes in video games. I definitely don't want them in my tabletop games. They're too meta. Like their inclusion kind of reminds me of D&D Fourth Edition. Uh, it's just not my cup of tea.
I mean, granted, some of the
Although,
badges
like,
with their images I do appreciate.
yeah, I do think the images the badges are hilarious. Like from a flavor perspective, that shit's funny as hell.
But yeah, um,
And I could see like adding these badges or at least adding these things to like a I don't know. When I first read this, I was like, I'd like to do a scavenger hunt where the players have to go do these things and take pictures of themselves doing it. Just like a non-combat, for the most part, because there's always random encounters, but just something out there for that's not serious that the players could have fun with for a while. Kill a whole evening doing that shit.
right. So the next section, which is brought to you by James, and of course him showing his game design techniques, is a stickball. So a game within a game, as it were. We're getting very meta here. So basically, it's a sport for the just to have fun with.
It's a street sport. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like it aren't like professional leagues, or at least they're not the focus. It's more like a inter gang type thing.
Yeah,
Um,
and it seems like there's
I like it. Go ahead.
other things like the what a roller derby that they
Yeah,
did.
that's what I was getting ready to talk about.
Wasn't there like a skate or bike?
There was a bicycle. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know
Well,
that it was
I thought there was like
competition
a
based, but
yeah.
they
I thought
did
there
talk
was a
about bicycle.
competition in another
There might
supplement.
have been. Like I said, my memory is crap. I'm
Yeah,
old.
mine's too.
They need to give me some neural boosters. That's what's going on. I need to get some cyber in the brain. I like that. I like that they're going into and giving rules for some sports, some cyberpunk specific sports. I always thought it was weird that I always thought that was kind of lacking in the original 2020 line. Is they talk about some of these things every now and then. They make brief mention, but they never go into any detail as to what it actually is. So you're just left to kind of make it up yourself, and which is awesome. But then when you go to somebody else's game and they're doing it, it's completely different. Their ideas are not at all the same.
Yeah, and I can definitely see, especially with like a neighborhood campaign, of doing things like this, of having like neighborhood tournaments in which
Yeah,
the players have volunteer to go in and play for a team to win it out, and then integrate some type of other plot that's going on.
yeah. I mean, if you run a heavily gang based, like street gang based game, this shit is like an alternative to fucking shooting it out or stabbing it out, whatever. I could definitely see this working. It
Yeah,
reminds me of in the late 70s and early 80s. Like I remember reading stories about street gangs in like the large cities. They'd get up and they'd play basketball to settle some
yep.
disputes and stuff like that. So this is just that.
Yeah, or you can convert your old rocker boy game that you did, in which the manager was smuggling drugs into all these places while the players were just doing gigs and didn't know
Yeah,
what was going
absolutely.
on behind.
Um, I, it's flavor, and like I
Yeah,
said, I love flavor.
yeah,
Anything to flesh out the world more is always going to be welcome to me.
yes.
Especially things like this that I would never really spend all that much time personally thinking about the rules for. I'm glad somebody else is doing it.
Yeah. Then you get a garden video advert for some things, and of course, shower in the can advertisement.
Yeah, because shower in the can is one of the most important bits of gear you can have. I'm not joking. Like, you want to be clean when you're talking to that corpo trying to get that job.
Well, like I was telling Jay, it's like our concept for shower in the can was a variant that basically cleaned up your DNA when you were on an
That
op
is like
and need to get rid of
that's
it.
a very cool concept. That needs to be written up as its own thing. I don't know. You can't call it shower in a can, but you could definitely like that needs to be something. Uh,
Site cleaner, something like that.
Tissue scrubber, something
Yeah,
like that. That's a badass idea, and I mean, they allude to like nanotech being like there's nanotech for every purpose out there.
yep.
And they talk about it being used to clean stuff, like clean your guns with nanotech. But having nanotech specifically tailored to go after biological material,
Clean up the
that's
crime scene.
that's so terrifying. What if you spray it on a living person? Oh, I hope you have a strong stomach.
Yeah. Yeah, so the next section is The Dreaded Punk Knot by Jay
I've been waiting for
Gray.
this since Chromebook One.
One, I agree. And basically, it's how to design a punk knot. You are definitely going to be getting into a high level, a high damage, crazy campaign with things like this. But it's well worth
um,
it.
yeah, the punk knot is terrifying. And like in Chromebook One, that's where the idea is introduced, and they just give this little bitty blurb about it, like a single paragraph, just enough to really get your imagination going. Uh, but they use like a horrible like an image that it's just a lump on the page. Like it could be anything. Um, it certainly doesn't look like something cobbled together on the street. So they finally do it justice. They finally give you the punk knot. They give you the rules to create them, what kinds of things it can do, what kind of options you can add. Uh,
Yeah, I would
I
love
don't
to
know.
see a future DLC with some more stuff or
Yeah, I'd like
added
to
to
see
it.
different kinds of punk knots, like not just AV ones, like cheaper land-based ones. Maybe some aquatic punk knots. That would be cool, or a submarine punk knot. Just you could get into some crazy pirate situations with it. Like an airship punk knot. Holy crap! Yeah, sorry, my brain is juices suddenly start flowing, and I don't shut up. All right. So yeah, I love the punk knot section. That if I had to say anything was my favorite DLC from last year, it's probably punk knot.
Yes,
Just because I'd waited for it for so long.
I would.
They even give you a sheet to create them,
Yeah,
which I love. I love sheets.
yeah. What we should do is sit down and watch all the various Mad Max movies and come up with new additions to add to a punk knot.
Yeah, yeah. like the
Someday.
battle rigs. Yeah,
Yeah.
someday. Not that I ever have any kind of argument or complaint when it comes to rewatching the Mad Max
Yeah.
movies in their entirety. There's not a bad Mad Max movie, and I will fight you if you say otherwise.
Yeah. Like a mobile stage with a
Yeah,
flamethrower guitar.
I mean, I've done so many Nomad type stuff with because you know me, I love Nomad games. I mean, hell, I introduced the Wasteland Walmart, which is just a bus that's been converted into a store. Like, yeah, double decker.
Right. So the next section is the wonderful corporate Conapps and studio apartments. Again, brought to you by James Hutt and Jay Gray. Get to see Ted Talsorian. He might have done
I've been
an
watching.
image that I'm not aware of.
I do know that Silverhand Studios makes its triumphant return, and it looks exactly the same.
Yeah, so it's nice that they went into details of the various um, aspects of living spaces because Cyberpunk had that for like a handful of different type of living spaces, but usually it was very generic versus having specific names associated with the living spaces.
Yeah, the Chromebooks gave you some specific names, but beyond that, it like you said, it's just generic, and the most you get is like this is a combat zone apartment building, so it's gross, or this is a high end luxury corporate apartment building, and that's about all the information you get.
Yep. The one thing I don't agree with in this section is the joint housing of petrochem and Solve Oil.
Yeah, I don't see that happening.
I
But
don't see that happening
they
without
do a lot
bloodshed.
of weird stuff with red, so
There
who
would be a
knows?
lot of bloodshed, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they were not on in 2020. They were not on friendly terms. I guess there could have been a corporate takeover
Yeah.
with bloodshed included, but I don't know why they would keep the names separate.
Yep. And I've kind of mentioned this in previous episodes. Is if my character has money, this is the kind of stuff he would spend it on. Place to live,
Yeah,
the furniture in those places to live, buying a bolt hole, so if case it gets hot, I have some place to flee to. Um, yeah, this is
decent
where my
food,
character
like
would. Yeah,
supplies in the bolt hole, like
exactly.
yeah, or just your home. Like
Yeah,
like bolt holes are great, but my character actually wants to live somewhere, like not just like the bolt holes are for when he's in trouble. But the rest of the time, he just wants an apartment somewhere that he can live. Nice TV, maybe a maybe a sound system, some decent food, or at least as decent as an edge runner can afford. Clothing, furniture, yeah.
yep,
Like everybody's like, I only live in a bolt hole. Well, if you live there permanently, it's not a bolt hole. It's just your place.
yep. So, but I know other players would just buy gear, buy gear, buy gear, buy
Yeah,
silverware.
just more
Not,
guns. I need
yeah,
more guns.
it's nice to have guns, but living is more important. Um, so the next section is the Halloween scream sheets, which are basically three short adventures that Melissa Wong produced. I have not read any of them because I don't know if I will ever run them or be in them. So I prefer to wait and see. Um, I might start running some Cyberpunk Red stuff now that my main Cyberpunk 2020 campaign is coming to a close. So I might do some Red afterwards, just to start getting more of a feel of the game. Um, and now it would be just trying to convince my players to give up 2020, which is always a hard addiction to break.
I can quit whenever I want.
Yeah. Well,
I I love I don't know what it is. It's the love of flavor, but I love me some scream sheets. I don't care if they're an actual adventure or just like some random like campaign recaps or just making up some shit. Uh, I love scream sheets. I search them, and if I come across them, I I save them almost obsessively. Back in the '90s, there were a couple of sites that were basically like data term replicas that had their own scream sheets that they would have a small assortment, but it seemed awesome at the time, and I still love that vibe. So seeing all the scream sheets coming out now, um, it's got me on a frenzy, especially as I'm trying to update the archive because I keep finding scream sheets people have created, but nobody, people out there, uh, I'm begging you, I'm begging you on bended knee, start crediting your work because me trying to find some of this stuff, it's migraine inducing on a scale that I had forgotten existed. Um, since the last time I tried to track down all the authors and creators of some of this fan based material. Because a lot of these scream sheets, a lot of the and other projects are really, really cool, but I have zero way of trying to track down. Like, there's no information out there at all. Like, somebody created a little catalog called the Black Corporate Manifest, and that's just an example of something that I've been looking everywhere to find, and there's just no information out there whatsoever. There's cyber psychosis uh, and a healing book that somebody did, and they're both very obviously they're done by the same guy, but they're both very professional looking fan materials with no information on how to track down the creator at all. It's infuriating. So please, somewhere, even if it's just in the file name, like in the file details, credit yourself,
yep.
please.
Yeah, so the next section is the 12 Days of Gearmas, which, of course, James wrote a little poem about Gearmas in Santa, which is always fun to read. Every time he comes out with it every year. But basically,
Yeah.
again, this is like all Gearmas, Gunmas, and all the
Cutie
12 days. You know, well, Cutimus was a divergent. So Gunmas
Yeah,
and
but
Gearmas were basically taking the 2020 stuff and upgrading it into red.
yeah, that's true.
Um, PW Bindi, your thoughts on Scream Siege? Do you prefer your sheets to focus on one storyline, or should Streets have other stories for world building and flavor?
I definitely think we should have other stories for world building and flavor. Like, it's great when they give you enough information to be a plot hook, but there should be other stuff on there because like that's just it just makes it better. It's it's a little bit of candy on the side of the cookie. Like, it just makes it better.
Yeah, and it also gives you as a GM an opportunity to see what your players want to do.
Yeah.
Like on my site, when I was running a Night City campaign recently, which recently being right before COVID into COVID, I created Net 54 news segments, and I posted them on my site. And basically, it would just talk about the various things that are happening specifically around the fourth corporate war that was happening at the time, and other things that were happening with the city. There was also a kind of a mini story around a killer called the Mad Hatter, which the players really never ever got into, but they kind of linked it to the main campaign that I was running, and thought maybe it would be involved with that, which of course they never got the true answer for it, but it was just like little bits that you can always post that could eventually lead into your main campaign. But
Yeah.
they are like little seeds that you can plant or kind of a future campaign if you want. So I think you want the main like 2 or 3 articles to kind of point the players in your direction you want them to, but add in little seeds to other things that they might be like, oh, huh, what about that from that other screen sheet we picked up, 3 adventures ago that talked about it. So you can kind of plot out a longer story in your screen sheets, that I think the players will appreciate and be like, oh, I see what you've been doing all along. So,
100%. I mean, I never created my own scream sheets per se, but I would like have interludes where the characters were listening to news radio or watching news on TV, where I would tell them about whatever big event they might have just been involved, the reason they were watching the news in the first place, to see what was being said and all that. But then I would intersperse that with those little details. In fact, that's where the carnival campaign came from. For like 10 years, I would just be all like, and in other news, uh, vague posters have started popping up that just say the carnival is coming. Nobody seems to know what this is all about. And that's all I said for like 10 years. Now, granted, it wasn't 10 years in game time, but it was 10 years in like real world campaign time. And I had my own serial killer, that all sorts of like gang attacks, just little things going on in the background, because that's how the world works. Is like, sure, you pay attention to the story that may affect you, or you may be paying attention to, but there's all sorts of shit going on in the background. Flavor is flavor, and flavor is good.
yes. So, moving along.
Yeah, Gearmus.
Gearmus.
I love seeing the 2020 stuff come in. I love that the Ion Cuffs finally made an appearance in Red. Um, to me, that should have been day one. In my game, Ion Cuffs were must-have tech. Like, you couldn't, if you had a cyber arm or any kind of dangerous cyber, they'd put ion, like, the cuffs wouldn't be like chained together, but they'd slap an ion cuff on your cyber arm to disable any dangerous cybernetic.
Yep.
It was some hand wavium stuff, but like it's necessary. Otherwise, the idea of air travel just doesn't work. Like, they're not going to let, especially in a post 9/11 world. Jesus. Not that 9/11 happened in Cyberpunk, but yeah, there are plenty of other disasters.
Yep. Yeah. So, and to me, with the Gearmus and having that wall speaker, I always thought that was a little cool little device.
Yeah, it is.
just to have. And it's also great for preventing what used to be laser mics.
Plus, it's one of those things that got predicted.
Yep.
A wall speaker is really no different than a Bluetooth speaker that you connect to your phone. It's the same bloody thing.
Yep. So,
Carry it around in your pocket, and you pull it out, and you got your groovy tunes.
yep. And that leads us to our final section, which is, of course, Cyber Fists of Fury.
Yeah,
Which
this is the one everybody
more
waited.
martial arts has been added. It's pretty comprehensive. Almost going on
It is.
onto your conglomeration of martial arts.
I don't know that I'd go that far. I got a lot of martial arts on my stuff, but it definitely like approaches the levels of like the martial arts list from Pacific Rim.
Yes.
I don't necessarily like the way that Red handles martial arts, where everything's got like its own kind of superpower.
Yeah.
But I do like how integrated and integral martial arts are to Cyberpunk Red. Like they seem to have a much bigger focus. And there's pros and cons to that. Like they're a little bit overpowered, but they were overpowered in Cyberpunk 2020 too. And I love a variety. I love having a variety of martial arts. I think it adds flavor to the game. Especially if you run a more like cinematic type game where you're not necessarily worried about real world effectiveness as you are about this shit's cool.
Yeah. I don't know if you've ever gone on YouTube and watched martial arts masters against real fighters.
I have. It's disappointing.
It is very disappointing.
Yeah. It's I don't like watching that. I like my martial arts cinematic. I like my Jackie Chan movies and Jet Li and my Ong Box with Tony Jaa.
Yeah.
Watching a real world effective martial arts seem to always boil down to watching some dude roll around on the floor with another dude.
Yes.
And while effective, it's just not very visually stimulating.
No, I'm talking about like these dojo masters coming in who basically only have been training form will go into like a real fighter, competitive fighters. And fight them, and they're like, "Oh yes, I'm gonna win this," and like the guy just gets totally demolished.
Yeah, I like my favorites are the Bullshido masters, who like are apparently masters of like stupid shit. Like they claim that their martial art can like stop you from across the room.
Yeah,
through the power of chi. I love watching them get whomped. Like there's few things that are just more delightfully entertaining than seeing an asshole who's been taking advantage of people just get their comeuppance upside the head.
Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the martial arts section, it's nice to have. I mean, to me, it kind of reminds me a little bit of the old second edition Dungeons and Dragons martial arts, in which you had kind of a like you were saying, a special ability that you could learn through that martial arts.
Yeah. It's I get what they're doing, and it's definitely part of the modern gaming ethos. And Red definitely follows the modern gaming ethos. it's just a little. For my taste personally, the special powers that martial arts grants are they're a little too fantasy.
Yeah.
Like some of them are based in like actual techniques and whatnot, but I don't know. The fact that this martial art teaches this one specific thing, and they're the only ones who can do it.
Right.
It's one of those video gamey situations.
Yeah, and from a rule of cool, it's great. From a
Yeah,
game mechanic point of view, it's hard because as a player, you are very limited to what kind of skill points you have to distribute, right?
yeah. So you
And
got to pick the one thing that you want to do, and that's
exactly. So if you want, oh, I want that ability with that ability and that ability, you now have to sacrifice a bunch of skill points to be able to get those three abilities. Whereas you're not going to use, because most of these martial arts have two abilities associated with them. It's kind of hard to pull in the flavor, and I'm wondering if there would have been a different way you could do that, in which you buy the abilities and
yeah.
based upon
I
the
was just getting ready
ability,
to say,
yeah, based upon the abilities you bought will determine the form, right? So if you have
with
this
my
and this
vote,
ability, yeah, like if you have this and this ability, that would be Arasaka Tai, right?
yeah,
So it gives the
and
player
with
the
my
ability to mix and match as they need to.
one of the things that always bugged me about 2020 martial arts is they didn't seem to follow any formula for like they'd throw out IP difficulties to learn, but there was nothing behind it. It
Yeah,
just seemed like they were just making shit up.
right.
Uh, so with my re with my redo of the martial arts rules for 2020 and my Interlock Unlimited version, I basically went through and created uh, like guidelines for creating your own martial arts and rewrote all the ones that existed so that the bonuses that they offered matched the IP difficulty, um, and that there was no more. Well, this IP difficulty is based off of how hard to find this martial art is. And I'm like, well, that shouldn't be an IP modifier. That has nothing to do with how difficult something is to learn, other than how difficult it was to find in the first place.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, so martial arts like Muay Thai is going to have a lot of bonuses to punching and kicking, and you add up those bonuses, and uh, the amount of points that those bonuses come to determine what what the IP modifier is and how difficult it is to learn. Um, and it works that way for both my 2020 version and my Interlock Unlimited version. And I would have liked to have seen something like that here, uh, where is a rule where you can create your own martial art, especially if you want to introduce the concept of mixed martial arts. You should definitely be able to do something like that, where
Yep.
I want to buy the kick from over here and this punch, and maybe this throw from this other martial art, because I'm training in all these various styles. I'm not dedicating myself to any of them, but I'm learning, and I think that would have made this article better.
Yeah. PW Bindi. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong. Suggests that the abilities should be based on the level you're achieving. So I could see that, like some type of
Yeah,
leveling system for martial arts in which you get an ability every other level. Just call me PWB. All right. All right, PWB. Of every other level, you can choose a new ability. And even classifying the abilities that you have to have a higher rank to be able to have that specific ability, because now that ability is pretty powerful compared to other ones. But then you're getting into a lot of crunch as well, which, you know,
which Red tries to avoid at
Yeah.
all costs. And
So it's a difficult balance to try to come up with
yeah,
some type of system for this.
it's one of those things where you see where they're going, and you can personally think of better ways to do that, but then trying to implement those ways can get bogged down real fast in trying to figure out the maths behind it.
Yeah.
And that's why uh, sometimes you just got to like break it apart and start from scratch. Um, Also, every time I see your name, I think of every time I see your name from now on, I'm going to think of calling Mr. Bindi, Mr. PW, because I'm an old nerd. I'm so glad you got that joke, Will, because I was sure it was going to fall on his face. Like, who the fuck remembers Pee Wee Herman?
How can you not forget Pee Wee?
Well, I mean, they know him as a person, like as a character, but like,
I know you are, but what am I?
I can't believe there's a whole lot of people out there of the current generations who've actually seen Pee Wee's Big Adventure. But
Well,
it's always heartening when somebody gets my pop culture references.
the other thing is, so I didn't know Pee Wee's live act prior to him doing his Saturday morning thing. It was a little different than what he did on Saturday mornings.
It was much more fun. In fact, he was doing that act. He did two different acts in Cheech and Chong movies. He
Yep.
did a precursor to Pee Wee, and he also played like an insane dude, just flat out bug shit insane. But it was I didn't see him in those until well after like Pee Wee had been established.
Yeah.
So that was a nice job.
Yeah. So and HBO, yeah. Little different than Saturday morning, right? PWB.
Yeah, it's I don't know. You sound pretty raised right to me.
Yeah.
If you
Gen
were
X.
watching that stuff, like Gen X don't care. We
were raised right. Most of us were raised right. Some of us.
Although Gen X complaining about the current generation bugs the crap out of me because it's Gen X's job to raise them.
Yeah.
And we apparently Gen X took the same attitude towards raising kids we took towards everything else. Like,
well,
it'll work itself out in the end.
Well, no, they overcompensate. They became helicopter moms.
Yeah, no, we were all latchkey kids who didn't see our parents for 14 years.
Yeah.
So we're going to be super involved in everything and protective and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, the exact opposite of how we were raised.
And then we're going to complain about it, about how soft the kids are. Like, what the fuck? Slopping a full stick of bread on your sandwich and then being all like, man, this sandwich sure is buttery.
I remember the good old days when I used to play with lead miniatures.
Yeah, I mean, that may be why we have so many memory problems.
Anyways, we're back. We're at time. So that's the review of Interface 4. Definitely worth picking up.
Absolutely.
I love the interfaces because I have a book of all the DLCs and I do not have to waste my own paper to print them all out.
I also love them because they keep the legacy of Chris Hockabout and Thaddeus Howes alive with their interface magazines.
Yep.
And just, I love the idea of the DLCs. I think giving us some free content is great, but it's in such little doses that sometimes it's hard to, I don't know. You don't want to print out 2 pages just to get lost in a binder somewhere. A book is much, much better. Like he said, having it all in one place is a lifesaver. Yeah, definitely pick this one up. I think this might be the best overall interface to come out so far. I think I can confidently say that they've all been good, but I think this one is going to have the most stuff for your players, and the most flavor ideas for the GMs.
So PWB asks, is there something that he could contribute documentation wise for Cyberpunk Red that would be of assistance for players and GMs? That's a tough one,
Uh,
right? Because every group is different on what they need. Um,
Here's the deal. Uh, I've got I've got 700 files that I over 700 files of stuff that I've been gathering for the last 10 years because I'm lazy and updating. And I think all of it's worthwhile. If you have an idea for something you want in your game that's not presented somewhere else, or maybe presented in a different way, go for it. Write that shit down. So, put it on the internet. Take it to Discord and share it with one of the cyberpunk groups there, or Reddit, or Facebook. Find somebody. If you don't want to create your own website, I will gladly archive it. Anybody who's got anybody out there who I haven't contacted yet, it's not because I don't want your stuff. It's because I don't have your contact information. If you've got stuff out there that you've created, and it's in a downloadable format like a PDF or an image or a doc file, anything that can be a file by itself, I would love to see it. I will host it on the archives. Um, so yes, if you've got something out there, share it. The worst that can possibly happen is people don't use it. You're not gonna If you ask for feedback, you might get some people poo-pooing your idea. But in general, if you just put something out there, most of the players out there and most of the people in the community are going to be really open to it.
yeah.
Uh, at least as a concept.
The the oth-
Um,
the other thing I think a lot of, or at least a kind of demand that I often see is, um, how does it all work, right? And some people have put out flowcharts on like how to do
mhm.
net running specifically. I think there was some little bit of combat, but other aspects of the game that you don't see a flowchart for, and you can kind of articulate how you would, for example, character creation or martial arts, and come up with kind of a way in which a person can take a look and understand, okay, I do this and then I do this, and based on my choice here, I go uh, through this branch or that branch to kind of come out to completion.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's going to know better than you what you know what's going to tickle your brain centers of creativity in relation to the game. And everybody's got their own strengths. Some people are rules people. Some people are flavor people. Some people are programming people. Uh, some people are just artists who want to, create art for cyberpunk. Some people do it all. Um,
Yeah, PWB. Just reach out to Derek to find out what he has of yours. And like Derek has been saying, he has no problem with with getting more content. When he gets to it, that's another matter.
yeah, I've still got like 300 files that I have to track down people for. Um, I've already tracked down the people for like over 500, and this when I update the archive, it's going to be huge. Uh, but yeah, I'm greedy for this stuff. I want to share as much as I can, not just from a content point of view, but from I this is going to sound pretentious, but I see myself as almost a historian of cyberpunk fan made content on the web. Um, when sites started going down and we started losing uh, the original like mega sites like Super Dan's or Dan Bailey's site or Morning Man's, um, it started to really bug me that all these guys who created all this fantastic work, it was going to disappear. So that's why I started creating the archive. And then GeoCities went down, and with it went like 200 sites all in one day, just gone, never to return. So I had to start way back machining and archiving all that. And then I was like, well, I got to find the authors for it. So yeah, it's important to me to make sure that that stuff is preserved. If anybody can find a use for anything, even if it's just one GM or one player who comes across like one little tidbit in somebody's article, that's enough for me to say it should be saved.
Like the end world of Cyberpunk.
Sure. Um, so yeah, if you've got something, I don't know if I haven't contacted you and you've got stuff out there. It's because you didn't. Um, you might not have given yourself credit, like I said, and finding you guys when you don't credit yourself is it hurts me just thinking about it. Like, oh man, I've been doing this for a month straight, spending 8 to 14 hours a day trying to track shit down, and I'm getting towards the end, but it's still like an uphill battle. But yeah, and if you want advice for anything, by all means reach out. I love to collaborate. I love to bounce ideas and have ideas bounced off me. You can add me as a friend on Facebook or Reddit or Discord. Um, I'm wisdom 000 on pretty much all those things. Sometimes there's a something else at the end just because somebody else took my name before I got to it. Uh, or I'm Derek Vernier, which I'll repeat all this information here in a minute when we do our outro. But yeah, and that applies to anybody out there. If you've got ideas that you want to flesh out and are not sure how to do it, reach out. I'll help you.
Well, with that said, I think we can put a bow on this.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I am Cybersmily. You can check me out on my channel, or sorry, my site is cybersmily.net. I have tons of utilities for Cyberpunk 2020, Cyberpunk Red, Combat Zone, and tons of stuff there. I'm also on a lot of various Discords. So if you do at Cybersmiley, there's a good chance you're going to be hitting me. I do have my own Discord as well as being on Cybernation Uncensored. We do have a channel on Cybernation Uncensored's Discord that you can always drop a question or reach out to us through there. I am also a lurker on the various Reddits for Cyberpunk. I probably don't, not on all of them, but quite a few of them, specifically 2020, Red, and the various ones for Cyberpunk 2077, as well as Combat Zone. I am also on Blue Sky, so I'm at Cybersmiley at Blue Sky, something or other. I still got to learn how to use that handle, but
Something or other. Yeah.
I'm out there. I'm not on any of the other social medias, but that's where you can check me out.
I am again. I am the co-host. I am Wisdom 000. My name is Derek Vernier. I run Datafortress2020, the largest, most comprehensive Cyberpunk 2020 site on the net. I've been running it since 1996. There you can find I've written multiple full-length source books, rules, including a complete rewrite of the Cyberpunk rules called Interlock Unlimited. Uh, Lots and like tons and tons of gear for the gear porn addicted out there. In addition, I host an archive of cyberpunk materials by other fan websites and creators, internet creators. You can find me on Facebook at the Datafortress2020 group, the Cyberpunk 2020 group, Cybernation Uncensored, the Cyberpunk RPG, basically any of the Cyberpunk Facebook groups. I am an admin or a moderator at Datafortress, Cyberpunk 2020, and Cybernation Uncensored. So you can always find me there. Like Will, I hang out on Reddit, mostly lurk, but occasionally I'll pop in with some comments here or there. Same with Discord. I'm on most of the same channels on Discord he is. So yeah, if you've got, I'm also on Blue Sky, where you can get me at Wisdom 2020 BSK. Yeah, Blue Sky. I don't know. Yeah. By all means, please reach out to us with any comments, criticisms, questions, complaints, anything. We love to hear from you through whatever channel you want to reach out to us with. We would like to thank Cybernation Uncensored and Rob Mulligan for hosting us.
They're here.
And again, I'd like to thank Art Talsorian for letting us preview their stuff. And the next episode, we've got somebody coming in. Who do we have coming in the next episode?
Next episode is July 3rd?
Yes.
No, July 2nd.
2nd.
I believe we might be having James from Night Crew Games to talk about Cyberpunk Legends. I'm still working on getting that set up with him.
Yeah, that's very exciting.
Yes.
The episode after that, we've got a guest, and I'm not gonna jinx it by letting you guys know who he is, but I will say it's huge. It's not Mike Pondsmith, so don't ask me about that. But it's almost as big and much more reclusive.
Yes.
So be sure to keep following us for these guests. Doing interviews is our favorite part of the show. And I think that's about it.
Yeah.
Farewell programs.
See you next time, everyone. Bye.